Hey guys, this is the TRAXXAS RUSTLER review. Okay, so this is the RUSTLER. As you can see, you can look around. You've got 4 wheels. This is a 2-wheel drive TRAXXAS RUSTLER, and it's the older version. So it's rear-wheel drive, and let's open it up. So we're gonna take the body pins off and open the car up. So as you can see inside, we have a lot of stuff. I'll show you all this stuff. So we've got the battery, which is covered up by these pins and this piece of plastic which hold the battery down. Right now the battery's unplugged, but if you wanted to plug it in, you just plug it in right here and then you can unplug it, which can be kind of tough sometimes. Oh my God. Okay, so we've unplugged the battery, plugged it in, showed you that. And then the rest of the stuff, so we've got the ESC, and this is the button to turn it on. You just press and hold for like 1 second and then it'll turn on. And this light will flash and this. And then you've got the motor back here. And you've got suspension arms, front and back. It's pretty good suspension. And then you've got up front, under this plastic is the servo. And it obviously controls the turning of the wheels, and back, and you've got the rear bulkhead, and then you've got the radio thing and the antenna. Okay, so back, I'm gonna talk more about the tires. Mine are kind of worn out because if you've seen any of our videos, we do a lot of crazy jumps and whatever and drifting, and so they're kind of worn out, but you can like buy new ones at like a hobby shop or online, and so they can get water in them because they usually end up having holes, and there also are some holes in the wheels that will sometimes let water in but also let it out. And so you want to make sure your tires are glued, because my friend, his tires weren't glued originally and they'd like come off a little bit and it would be weird. Alright, so back in the back of the car, you've got the rear bulkhead, which holds the motor, gears inside, and the clutch. And so the clutch adjusts how much the throttle is applied right when you press down on the gas. And so pretty much if you loosen it, it makes it so the motor will slip more. But if you tighten it, it'll make it so the wheels will turn more and the motor won't slip as much, which makes it usually so it's a better launch. But you don't want it to be too tight or you'll wheelie off the line. That's not good. Also, another way to wheelie, you can, if you go in reverse and then accelerate, it will wheelie. Way to get into the clutch and adjust it is you want to unscrew the screws around this black part. Then you can take it off, and inside you will find the clutch, which it has first there is a nut that holds down a little spring that is, then they're both on top of the clutch. And so what you want to do to adjust it is you can loosen the bolt or tighten it, and so that will adjust it because it'll push the spring down, which will push on the clutch. Now we're going to talk about the controller, and so it's pretty self-explanatory. Like to turn left, you turn the steering wheel this way. You can adjust it how much you want to turn. And then to turn right, you'll turn it this way. And then to accelerate, you pull back on the lever, and you can adjust how much you're accelerating or your speed by, it doesn't just click like some toy grade RC cars. When you pull back on the accelerator, it'll just kind of click. But this you can like adjust how much you want to. Then reverse, which is kind of the same thing, except you're going backwards. And so actually when you go from reverse to gas, if you're going in reverse and then you step on the gas, you'll immediately get on the gas. But if you're going from gas, you go forward, it'll brake, and then you can go back and then do it again and it'll be reverse. That's just how it was made. And then right here, this is the steering trim, which you can adjust the steering on the car. I mean, it doesn't really notice anything when the car is off and the controller is off, but you would notice if it was on. And then to turn the controller on, there's the switch on the back, which you can flick, turn it on. You want to turn the controller on before you turn the car on, because it might get confused and drive, which I have seen happen with my friend Ted, his Slash. It's done that before. The last thing about the controller is the batteries, which you can push this down and open it up. Okay, and so you can open it up and it has 4 AA batteries inside, and so it just runs on AA batteries. Pretty simple. And then you can close it back up. And yep, that's all for the controller. This car, I mean, I have right now nickel metal hydride hump battery because it can't fit any of the longer ones. And so you can get a 6-cell or a 7-cell, but if it's the older one with the older tray, you need if you're getting a 7-cell, you need the hump pack because the other one won't fit. It fits with a little bit of room. The other batteries you could get for this would be 1S and 2S lipos. I'm not sure if it would fit a 3S lipo, but it might. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't though, because they barely can fit like 2S lipos. And so if you're getting a 2S lipo, I'd say keep it 80 cell or under, because any bigger and I don't know if it would fit. And yeah. I'm going to be talking about some problems that can happen with the car that you want to make sure you fix, because they can cause to something breaking. So one of these problems, and probably the one I have a lot, is screws backing out, usually up here on the front. These screws and the ones on the suspension, sometimes I have the problem with them. Also the screws back under the motor, and these ones on the rear control arm and the ones on the rear suspension, those have the problems where they'll back out, and you want to make sure you screw them back in as soon as possible, because if they back out and stuff is like moving how it normally does, like these control arms are moving, it can cause the stuff to break because they'll be bending weird and it'll break. I've had that happen once with a rear control arm. You want to make sure you fix that, because it's happened to my friends before where screws have backed out and it's caused something to break. And pretty much other things that probably the most common thing that my friends and me have had broken on these cars, I haven't actually had many things broken, but from what my friends have had and the one time I've had it happen, the rear bulkhead, it can break pretty easily, because when you're doing jumps, when you get on the throttle, it'll make your car lean like back more, or I don't know how to explain it, but it'll tilt like where the front will go up more when you're accelerating while in the air. And so you don't want to land like that, because you'll end up hitting the rear bulkhead on the ground. And if you look over, I've done that because I'm stupid multiple times where I've hit it and it's really scratched up back here. You don't want to do that, because I've actually broken it one time by doing that. It's not good. And same with the front. So when you brake or do reverse while in the air, your front will tilt down, and so that can cause it to land like this, and that is not good to land on the front, because also that can break these front things, the little bumper, and then even like the front bulkhead and stuff. You don't want to do that. So you want to make sure you're trying to land as flat as possible. And I would say landing front heavy is fine, landing back heavy is fine. If you look at some of my other videos, I wasn't very good at in-air control in some of our other videos on the channel, where I'll just land really rear heavy because I would accelerate too much while I was in the air. I've kind of learned about that now. So yeah, that is one problem that is a problem that can happen. If you need to fix things because something breaks, usually they'll have the parts at a hobby shop. It's pretty easy to get parts for these cars because they are pretty common, or at least the base parts. They're pretty easy to get. And so The most expensive thing would probably be the motor or like ESC. Those would be pretty expensive to fix if they broke. But the hardest thing to like take apart and fix is probably like the rear bulkhead, because if you break that, you have to like take off a ton of screws, and like you have to take out the motor, and you have to like take out the clutch and stuff, and you have to take out all the gears inside, but it's definitely manageable. I mean, I did it. I broke the rear bulkhead one time. You can go check that out in RC Car Madness episode 1. I broke the rear bulkhead of the car, and so I never recorded it, but we ended up having to take it apart and put the new part on and do everything. But that's definitely probably the toughest thing to fix on the car, because everything else, like when I broke a control arm one time, that was such an easy fix. I only had to take out like 3 screws and then put the new part on and then put the screws back in. But I did have to take off some of the wheels. I did have to take off the wheel for that. Going around corners with the car on pavement, at least on dirt, if you go full speed around the corners, you'll drift pretty much or just spin out. But if you're on the road, you don't want to go full speed around the corners, because your car will, sometimes it'll spin out, but usually if you go full speed, like around, like turning really sharp, it'll just flip, and you don't want to flip it because that can break stuff and damage things. The car is pretty durable, but it is open wheeled, so that can be a problem with like flipping. You don't want to break parts and control arms or wheels, which the wheel probably wouldn't break, but the control arms and stuff, you don't want to break those. And so don't go full speed around the corners. You can, usually when you go around corners, if you're going like really sharp, you just want to like let off the gas and turn. If it's a really big corner, you can go full speed around it, but you don't want to like go too sharp where you'll flip. And so most of the corners I go around, I either just let off the gas fully and turn, and this is on road, or I just do like half throttle or something like that, or just not full throttle when I go around the corners. This is my charger and battery. We're gonna plug it in. So I have AC to DC converter for this TRAXXAS charger we have, which usually would go into a car, or you'd plug it into a car to charge. But since I have the AC to DC converter, we can plug it into the wall up here, and this red light it'll be solid red when it is ready to charge, which is gray. Okay, it is solid red, so I can plug my battery in, and when I plug it in, it'll start flashing green, and when it reaches solid green, it'll be done charging. But after it reaches solid green, it'll be like a minute or two, and then it'll just turn the charger off. It usually takes like 30 to 40 minutes to charge the battery. I'm just gonna charge it for a little bit so I can demonstrate driving the car. Okay, so right now I'm gonna put the battery in and turn it on. So I've taken the shell off, and now I want to plug the battery in, and then I want to take my 2 pins and put the piece of plastic cover thing over, then put my pins in. Oh, and one thing about the pins is I recommend you get the silver ones, because the black and gray ones, they are very easy to lose. The silver ones are shiny, so you can see them if they're on the road, or at least at daytime, or when there's light on them. And so I put this in, and now you want to turn the controller on, and then after you turn the controller on, you want to turn the car on. And as you see, these lights will light up. This one red, that one green. Sometimes this one will be red, but I'm not sure what it means. So we barely have any battery time because I only charged it for like 10 minutes, which you should not do. You want to charge it to full. I just wanted to get the rest of this off before it gets dark. I put the shell on, and I want to put the body pins in. So now I've got all the pins in, and now we're ready to drive. So tilt. Okay, so I've got the car right here, and so I can go reverse. which I kind of got some wheel spin, and then I can go forwards. So as you can see, I just did, when you go forwards, it'll brake, and then you press it again to go in reverse. But when you go from reverse to forwards, it'll immediately go forwards. And so as you can see, I did a little wheelie right there. So now we're gonna do the jump. And one little tip my friend Ted has taught me about doing jumps is you wanna go slower going up to the jump, and then fast, and then full speed right when you get there. And so I'm gonna just go over here to get a better angle. So when you are done, first, you don't want to turn the controller off first. First, you want to take all the pins out. Make sure you put them where you're not going to lose them. I'm putting them next to the controller, so I won't lose them, because pins are very easy to lose. Trust me, I've lost a lot. But then again, I am an idiot, so yeah. Okay, and then you want to turn the car off by pressing and holding that for about a second. Then you take these pins off. Take this piece of plastic off, and then I'm going to take the battery out. We'll probably have to cut this part out because it's kind of annoying to take off. Kind of got to wiggle that a bit. Well, that came off fast. Okay, so I take the battery off. And then after you've turned this off, you want to turn the controller off. And so I'll turn the switch, turn it off. And then, yeah, pretty much, I usually put the pins into the shell with the battery and carry them back to the shed or wherever, or my car, or not my car, but the car, wherever we are. And so pretty much I'll just get all my stuff. And so one way you can hold it, it's like from the bumper. People will hold the car like that. And then you can hold this and this. And then, yeah, you're done. Okay guys, that was our review of the two-wheel drive TRAXXAS Rustler. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry it got kind of dark at the end there. We can't control the time, but I wish we could sometimes. But yeah, that was our review. Goodbye, subscribe to Patrick's Basics, and that's it.